Hi, this is Azaria ZZ Wright, and this is a very informal um, information, but I wanted to share some information with you on steps on self publishing. There are many people out there with great ideas and amazing stories. As a writer, playwright, producer, I have people ask me all the time, first, do I self publish my books? And second, how do I go about it, or how did I go about it? My first two books, The Queen and Me and My Bumblebee, was a children's book. It was done by a publishing company. I did not pay them to have my book published. I sent in the synopsis and I sent in the drawings, and they said they liked the book, and so they published the book. The River of Life is an historical novel that was published in 2015. Same thing. I sent in a synopsis. They said they liked the book, so they published the book. Now they got a higher percentage. However, I did not pay them anything for the book. Um, a couple of years ago, they went out of business. This particular publishing company went out of business, and I still have, the copies of the book, and I also got the rough draft of what I sent them, and so I might do something with it later. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I want you to be careful of spending thousands of dollars publishing your book. There are other companies out there that you could research, but you should not have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to publish your book. Now, my first book, like I said, was a children's book called The Queen and Me and My Bumblebee, published in 2007. I did some of the artwork in it. I wanted it to look kind of like more like a childlike drawings. And it really is a beautiful book about a little girl that goes all over the world when she touches her tiara with her bumblebee. Beautiful little story. But I realized that I prefer writing books that are more historical in a sense, and that is where the River of Life came in. And the other week, while I was reading the River of Life, I realized this is kind of the angle that I want to go in, and so therefore that's prior to that I started thinking about self-publishing because I was looking at the format of the book and I was like, hey, with this particular format, you could really self-publish this book and it really wouldn't be that expensive. I remember a couple of years ago, really about 5 years ago, I had a student of mine that got his book self-published on Kindle. And he wanted me to kind of read over it for him and just tell me what he thought. And so when I began to do research on self publishing, I thought about that. And so that's when I went on Kindle, and it's called Kindle Bookshelf. And through Kindle Bookshelf, you can set up things where you self publish your book. And so we're going to go through some things with that. Okay. Um, Kindle self publishing. All right. So now I'm going to go over different phases of the process if that's something that you would like to do. Like I said before, a lot of people have a lot of great stories. Sometimes people want to write memoirs of their life. A lot of times I run into people who say, you know what, I had so many things happen in my life. I would love to put it in a book, maybe change the names of some of the people so I don't get in trouble, but um, definitely put that book out there. Well, I think that Kindle Bookshelf is a great way to do things if you want to self publish. I have published my last three books on Kindle Bookshelf. I published my first one, which was The Ghost Typewriter, in June of 2020. I published the next one right after that, The Mistletoe Tree, in July. And in August, my book series called Teen Angels will actually be going out. So every month I I've been publishing a book. Of course, I've had these ideas of stories in my mind for quite a while. That's why I'm able to maybe reproduce them so quickly. And then also, of course, with this COVID and all, I've had a bit of time. But let's go over some things. Let's go over the Kindle bookshelf. Okay, now if this is something you want to do, what you would do is you'll type in Kindle bookshelf. This page will ask you to either log into your Amazon account or create one if you don't have one. And so what you'll do is when you get to that page and it asks you to log into your Amazon account, you'll do just that. But before you begin this process, make sure that you have your book ready for submission. That means make sure that you have your book edited and that you are ready to submit your book. One thing that I realized as I was going through the Kindle publishing, and also because I've had books published before, is there's certain things you need as far as the setup of a book. Okay, first you got the prologue, and what is that? Well, that is like a paragraph on what the book is about. Remember that first sentence in your prologue. Make sure that very first sentence is a sentence that captures the attention of the readers. In screenplays and in teleplays, they call that the log line. Okay, but make sure that first sentence in your prologue, that first sentence in your paragraph, captures the reader's attention. Okay, and like I said, that's just a paragraph telling the readers exactly, kind of like highlighting the different things that will capture their attention and make them want to read your book. Next, we have the about the author. Okay, and this is just another paragraph, a little paragraph about you. Like in my paragraph, I write, well, I'm a teacher and I publish several books, and I'm also a screenwriter, different things like that. So whatever you want your readers to know, that's what you put in about the author. And also you want things to kind of give you credibility. So for instance, if you graduated from college or, if you've written other pieces, those are the things that you're going to want to mention in that. Next, we have chapter headings. Okay, chapter headings. Those are the titles of each of your chapters. Okay, make sure with each of those titles, make sure that they are also attention grabbers. Like for instance, when I was writing the Ghost Typewriter, I made sure that I had different things in there that would capture the reader's attention. Okay, the Ghost Typewriter is basically about a woman that's in present day, and she goes to sleep and she has dreams about a journalist from the 1950s. And she begins to have these dreams once her husband has given her a typewriter. So for instance, I had things in my chapter, like chapter 1, the deadline, chapter 2, the introduction of Nova Star, chapter 3, obsession. Okay, so make sure that your titles have something that will, grab the reader's attention. And they don't need to be very long, but just make sure that they grab the reader's attention. Okay, then the title page. Okay, the title page and your name need to be by itself. So in other words, when you set up your book, you have the prologue. That's on one page. You have about the author. That needs to be on another page. You have chapters, a list of your title headings in your chapters. That needs to be on another page. Then you have the title page. That is also on a separate page. That will mean that you will have your name and the title, and really it'll be the title first, and then underneath you'll have by such and such. Like for instance, I have The Ghost Typewriter by Zaziria Wright Beveridge. Finally, of course, then on that following page, you have the body of your novel. Okay. So that means you imply the body of your novel, and then at the end of that, make sure you put the end. Okay, make sure that you put the end. Um, One thing about the prologue, which is that paragraph about what the book is about, some people might say it's more of a synopsis, similar, that's very similar, about the author, the other short paragraph that, that's about yourself, you're going to use that more than once. Okay, so you're going to use that more than once. You're going to use that when you put that information, when you're filling out your information, you're going to put that in the body of your book. Okay, so what I normally do is I just copy and paste it. Okay. Um, so these are some of the Kindle questions. Okay. Some of the Kindle questions are, do you have to have a subtitle? You have a title, like I have The Ghost Typewriter. My subtitle is A Night in Harlem. So that will go up under my title. It's not necessarily so that you have to have a subtitle. Okay? Author, of course, the author, of course, is you. Genre, what is a genre? Okay. There are two types, of course. Well, there's several types of genres, but the main two that's going to be divided into categories. You're going to have your fiction and your nonfiction. Fiction is things that are made up, okay? They're dealing closer to fantasy. Nonfiction are things that are true. They lean toward kind of more like historical novels, okay? Different things like that. So they're going to ask you, what type of book is your book? Is it fiction? Is it nonfiction? And when you go to nonfiction and fiction, those things are broken up in different categories. So, for instance, you could have a fiction book that is for children, it's a children's fantasy. Then you can have a nonfiction book that's an historical novel. You can have a fiction book that's a sci-fi fantasy. So that's what they mean as far as genres. Okay, that's what they mean as far as different genres. What type of book are you writing? So remember, if it's fiction, then of course it's not true. It's kind of dealing with your fantasy. If it is nonfiction, then it is true. And fiction can seem like real life, but it be totally made up. That is fiction. Then they will provide you with your ISBN number. What is your ISBN number? That is the number that they use when selling your book. Okay, that is used with the identification of your book. You will also have a page where you are setting up the choice of royalties. I usually have royalties where I get 70% and they get, what's left. For printing, or downloads, it's a percentage with that as well. So just make sure you look carefully at that. And then they're going to also ask you, like I said, will your book be a series? Now, this latest book that I have, Teen Angels, that is a series. That means that I'm going to have more than one variety of that particular book. So I have my first one, Teen Angels, about teen angels that come down from heaven and help other teenagers. Teen Angels Book 1. Then my next series would be Teen Angels Book 2, and thus far and thus far. Okay. We're going to get into part 2 of this, and part 2 is setting up your cover. Okay, because I want to talk to you a little bit about that.